So I say shocked, panicked, confused, and lashing out. Those of you that follow astrology and have a sense of the associated planets have probably figured out a lot of this is Uranus. For the shock, certainly, planet of electricity, planet of getting these kinds of shocks. I know this only too well from my own experience of this planetary energy over the years. It's not that it's doing it every time, but if it does it 2 or 3 times across many years, you certainly discover in real time how it works. This tends to be a lot more valuable than the information you read from others because you experience it more organically. However, the point is, it's what he's in. So certainly if you say shock, Uranus energy, if you then point to panic, similar, same planet in the same sense, to some extent you involve other planets in such a feeling, but Uranus is an excellent correlation. Confusion, usually more to do with Neptune. And finally, if you say lashing out, well, aside from the fact that we know this is the way he does things, in part to distract, but in part is his way of doing things, going back to the Roy Cohn apprenticeship. Attack, 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 and open new fronts. Now, this is also a very imperious way to live life, hence Napoleonic, Hitlerian, people with big heads tend to do this kind of thing. They think they're invulnerable and they think they can win every battle, when in fact, especially in the current period of time with the cycles that he's under, this is extremely dangerous. So this would be the Mars when you think of lashing out. Now the question is, where's this going? Well, nowhere good, obviously. We know that he's in this Uranus zone from late October all the way until May, but with special peaks whenever it's doing something interesting, such as right around now, it just returned into Taurus to square his ascendant degrees, hence strong probability something like this will surface. Then it backtracks, where it'll make its station at 27 1/3 degrees of Taurus. That one comes in early February. No help at all. That's a direct station, square Mars. Could even be worse than what he's experiencing now. From there, it moves forward and will run over these very same degrees, though not in a station, but still, you're seeing them now and it's not in a station either, so it can be tricky either way. That happens in late April before finally in May, re-enters Gemini, where it'll stay for the next 7 or so years. His problem is the other planets are no help, none whatsoever. Jupiter is right on his Venus now, and yet it has more to do with this than any benefit he might be getting, unless you posit that by being there, it's protecting him in some way. I'm quite skeptical. I've often said that Jupiter, yes, it's a great benefactor, but in a sense, it's like any other planet. If you put it in a vulnerable place, it can hurt you as much or close to it, sometimes more even. And indeed, connected to that Venus in the 12th, it's a perfect correlation to the topic at hand, secret affairs, Venus as women, things that you're trying to hide, etc. In a sense, the Jupiter expands it. Saturn, obviously not helpful. It's in the 8th house, trining Venus now, which should be helpful, but maybe it's just holding the dam for now because it's also close to a square to his sun. And from here, it'll station at the end of the month, then it'll go forward and go to the 26, 27, 28 degrees, where it's going to be doing the 150 to Mars and to the ascendant. Again, not helpful at all. Neptune, while you're seeing it in terms of the confusion for sure, but not just that, it's parked in the very late degrees of Pisces, which means it's 150 to the ascendant, which is from the 8th especially a classic health danger type of aspect. But in this case, it's contributing confusion because in astrology, you see this all the time. When it rains, it can pour. You get all these planets moving in, they'll do multiple things. It's not just one thing. It's quite often 2, 3, 4 things. And this happens to be one of those things, because the other, for example, could be that that election didn't go well a few days ago. And that's the zone that we're in, right? So now you've got Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. The Pluto is in degrees that are a constant irritation by way of early Aquarius degrees that don't line up well with the sun and moon. That's a semi-square, sesqui-square, not helpful at all. And then, in a way, the kingpin, or really it should be the queen pin in this case, because Eris is the warrioress, seeking retribution. It's not wrong to say this is like an angry woman that is looking for payback, which, given that stations, high point in July, the topic surfaces. So then if we're looking ahead, what do we see? We see that Eris will station in January. That's not too far away now. That's what it's going to do. So this topic gets amplified in January. But worse, much, much worse, is that if you look at January, you see that multiple planets are going to be in Capricorn, unsurprisingly, in the sense that the sun goes into Capricorn at the solstice. Mercury, Venus typically roam around the sun. Some years, though, they won't be in the same sign. This year, they're in there. They're in Capricorn, and so is Mars. Mars right now is in Sagittarius, which separately, between now and December, next month, well into next month, it'll just agitate him and anger him and bring about more and more of that Mars aggression, because Mars in Sag opposes his sun, conjoins his moon, etc. That's separate. Capricorn, though, is a much less friendly sign, because Capricorn is the opposite side of those Cancer planets, Mercury, Venus, and Saturn, square Eris. That's part of that up there is that Access Hollywood T-square I've described so many times because of what happened back in October of 2016. So you get into January, you have the Eris station in Aries in basically the same degrees where it was in July of 2025, because this planet is moving glacially along and will not leave these degrees until the first years of the next decade. So there's no end to this, right? But in the near term, January, stationary. And what you need to make it especially problematic for him is to have other planets triggering the same thing. Those planets will be Venus and Mars. They make a conjunction in mid-January, not too far away, days away from where Eris stations, and in the degrees of Capricorn that match the Aries degrees of Eris, opposite the Venus-Saturn in the 12th house. This is not good at all, extremely threatening. Indeed, Mercury is in Capricorn as well, doesn't quite link up with precision to those planets, but it's in the zone, so is the sun. In fact, there'll be a new moon in Capricorn. As it turns out, this year it's in the late degrees of Capricorn, which still will be taking in the opposition to his Venus and the square to Eris. All of this is of a piece. So January looks like a doozy, but the interesting thing about all this is that, yes, here we're talking about the topic at hand, the Epstein files, the constant erosion, the threat that is taking place, particularly, what do I call this, comedic? It's dark comedy, but it's this thing where you see the Eris in real life, in a sense, showing up. It'll show up as women. Notice that all of a sudden, who are two of the women that have become a huge problem? His own allies, former allies. Still, in a way, they still are, but Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert are joining forces with those that want the Epstein files released. That's a manifestation of Eris in tangible form. But I'll end by telling you this. As bad as this is, and as much as it threatens to blow up and get even worse than what it is, it might not be the worst topic. The worst topic continues to be his health, because all of these planets are in some way linked to his health. If you are hitting the ascendant, you are hitting the body. It's dangerous that way. And if you have planets in the 8th sign, it's the death house. And when those planets are 150 by precise degree to your ascendant, that's also very problematic. Indeed, even the Eris, just sitting there grinding away, is hitting 12th house planets. 12th house is when you go to the hospital. So all of it is implicating his health. You might argue perhaps it's because of all these pressures that he'll be driven to experience potentially dangerous, even catastrophic health events, or not. Maybe it's just the way it is because they're there. But either way, that topic is even more dangerous. So, what else can I say? Couldn't happen to a nicer guy. Thank you for watching. If you haven't already subscribed, please consider subscribing. It's absolutely free, but it really helps the channel. Thank you.